Sorry about that, guys. My connection dropped and my router crashed, so I lost my connection. So, all right, again, in case you're joining, we're going to be doing a flashlight scare for this little guy right here. And I figured actually what I'm going to do is take you guys through some ways I'm going to start with getting this guy all set up. So let's see here. What we're going to do is I want to take this pose, right? So this is going to be his like starting pose. Problem is it's I have a ton of layers here, right? So I need to basically crunch this all down. So I create another folder up here and call this poses. Oops. And then here I'm going to create a new animation. We'll call this idle. So the thing about the Akitsu program is there's really there's no pose library as of yet. So, but the easiest way to do it, assuming you have your pose here, is basically you can right click and sorry, not right click. I think that's duplicate animation right here. And actually, I'm going to remove this dude. Move this up here. Call this idle. And then what that's going to do is give me a duplicate copy of that animation, right? So the next thing is to crunch this guy down. So I'm going to come over to my mixer panel right here. This is essentially layers, right? Select everything. I'm just going to bake it all down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to my stacker. I'm going to say, select all except for the first frame and delete. There's my idle pose. Okay. Now all I have to do is say select everything, and I'll just Control C, but copy it. Go to your first starting pose of your animation. Paste. There you go. There's your pose. That's pretty much all you have to do. The other thing, I have totally forgot about this. Maybe I'll do this right now. I need to move the root node. So if I show my bones, right? My root node there. Okay. Problem is, it's gonna move the dude. That's not good. Root nodes are typically in video games if you're not part of the industry. This is what moves the character through space. However, when you're animating this guy, the last thing you want to do is manage the root along with the hips. So, what you need to do typically is create a constraint relationship where typically the control rig, this guy will sit outside the hierarchy, but they'll all drive these bones, right? But in Akitsu, you're using this hierarchy and the control rig is all one piece put together. So the way around this, you couldn't do this actually before this version because they didn't have these new things called attach tracks. What are they called? Switch space layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a switch space layer, and I need to basically oh, that's right. Bind pose. That's right. I have to do it over here. So I'm going to go back to my rigging tab. I haven't done this very often. My reference pose for this guy, right? I'm going to, I think I need to have him in his bind pose first. Because essentially what I'm looking for, yeah, I think I need to be in his bind pose. Okay. spaces in rig mode, which we... Oh. Okay, right. Switch icons this way in the picker. Okay. I think you select two things, I believe. No. I don't think you have to be in bind post to do this though. Let's do a little test here. I can't remember how this is done. I did this once, but available spaces in rigging mode, right? Oh gosh, totally forgot about this. I think man, I can't remember how to do this. It's a new feature, so it's kind of like difficult. Oh, I think, okay, I know. You have to go into bind pose. Okay, here it is. Ugh. Okay. And, I think it's not one of these. Well, cry it. I have to be in... I don't think I have to be in bind post to use this. Set some joints level spaces in rigging mode. Please turn on the space switch. Oh, in the picker, that's right. Oh gosh, okay. Okay. So, what I need to do is come up here, and I have to enable these guys. And actually just care about this guy, hips. Sorry. This stuff is, you can miss this a lot. This does double duty. When you're in your paint and check mode, this thing tells you, hey, guess what? Here's the level that I'm gonna paint at. You can do smooth bind, rough bind, or off, which is like 0 or 1. And this tells how much the auto smoothing algorithm should apply itself. However, in bind mode, this tells you exactly who gets a constraint, who's available to get a constraint. And so I'll just do those two. I can't remember how this works perfectly, but we'll do this here. Ooh, flashlight scare. Okay, doorway slide left. And we're going to go to our hips guy, and we're going to make a space switch layer. And I want it to go to the character, because the character is a top node thing that I will never, ever, ever move. Okay, I always keep it in place. When I do that, I create this little space switch track, right? Now all my animations are going to be just fine, perfectly fine, cool. But the key now is I can go and I'll actually extract this guy. So yeah, I'll just make a new layer for him. Call this root. And over the course of our animation, which is right down there, I'm actually going to set a key, and now when I move him, look, he doesn't affect the character at all, because the hips are now in space switch mode, which is parented to the character, which no longer respects the hierarchy of the root. So that's kind of how you can do that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool now. It makes it super easy to actually use this in a game setting. So what I typically do with these roots here is I just kind of make sure they're kind of underneath the hips. Oops, add another keyframe there. Right, this kind of gives him, now he stops right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this guy. Paste. Now the thing about this is, I don't know exactly. Am I gonna do this? If I turn on ghosting, usually I turn on ghosting and do this kind of stuff. So I have to try and think through how I am actually going to make this work. So no, that's my starting point. I know that. Oh, hey, gaming artist. Sorry, guys. I just took a look at the chat and saw that some of you joined. So sorry about if you guys were in the stream before. I'm sorry that it cut out and started back up again. I was had problems with my router and internet, so I had reset it. Crashed on me. I am trying to figure out how to move this route. I got it to move, however, it's gonna be a interesting one to figure out. Maybe what I'll do is I'll extract the route after I create the pose. So back at 0, we're on the base frame, which is where my route should be. I'm going to, if I do this, frame before, that should tell me where he is. Actually, oh crap. Looks like he's moved a bit. Potentially. Sometimes the ghosting is hard to tell because it might be a I have to bake this down in order to get this to move properly, but maybe I can still make this happen. Because I'm moving my route around, everything else should move. So let's try this. We're going to select everything. We're going to copy. And we are going to paste. Alright. So at least I know. Undo that so I can just move him normally like that. So at least I know that these two poses are identical. Now I'm going to grab him and him. And I'm going to shuttle him forward like this. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll see. Cool. Oh, right, I'm ghosting before, that's why. Awesome. Okay, so we'll see that route is now snapping. So now what I have is I have a perfect alignment. From my source pose, I just move the whole thing over to the end. So now I have a perfect one-to-one pose with the route because I decoupled the route and allowed it to be moved by itself freeway. Now I can go in and just select the route here, and I'm going to extract it into its own layer and simply delete these keys. There we go. Now we should move. Cool. So that gives me the perfect route movement that I need. He's a little too far out here, so I'm going to move him back. And actually, I'll probably move him back here still.
Why would I quit my 9 to 5 to start
Maybe actually that's... pretty accurate. I'm having him over his center of mass, which is kind of around here.
That helps run my business. No offense, smartphone. None taken.
Cool.
Or fill my garage with enough servers to
So
power
it does move up, and we're good to go. So now this will give game movement when we use it in the engine. It'll move to the side as expected and then come to rest. Probably won't come to rest here. So I'm going to copy this, keyframe, paste, and oh, thanks, Sir Squibbles01. Love that name. We're just finishing up this guy, and then we're going to do a flashlight scare after this. So let's see here. Then what I'm going to do is I actually reduce the resolution of my monitor too, so you guys can maybe see stuff a little bit easier. I was looking over some of the previous streams, and I was like, some stuff is kind of hard to tell. Okay, cool. So we're going to clamp these. So now he's going to lead into that motion, and that's going to settle for about 7 frames. Actually, I'm going to kind of do the same thing with this guy. I'm going to kind of just get that stuff over there. Oops, sorry. Clamp that. Didn't really do anything. I might have to flatten that because he overshoots to the left, so let's go in here. I'm gonna select this dude, kind of level him off so they didn't go back so much. Why did he go back so much? Why did I do that? Okay, here we go. I actually wanted him to go the other way. I want him to lead into the motion just a tad, but I like the slope. So this guy, well, that's not what I wanted. Okay, cool. This is an animation for a game called Slaughter Me. Oh, gosh, I can't remember what the second name is. It's been late. I had a hard day today, so. And these little guys are going to be kind of in your view. You have a flashlight, corridors. It's a pretty cool game. There's a trailer. Oh, if someone can put that link to the trailer in. Let me see if I can find it here. 123 Slaughter Me Street. So, Slaughter Me Street. I actually sent you to the Steam page for this thing. It's pretty cool. Here we go. Check that out. It's a link there and everything. So we're going to be doing all of our, actually this is not the one I was thinking of. Let me see here. Let me find the video. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, when she gets out of the corridor. Actually, I don't think that's the link. Does someone have the link? I have to go back to my mail account. Here we go. Let's see here. Found it. Wow. Didn't work. Oh boy. Here we go. Where's the trailer? That's the one. So, SMS Sodomy Streets Evolution is what it is. But the previous ones are really fun. So this is it, the little, peeking animation. And then, so what we're gonna do is just did the root, so that's good. Now, I also was showing you how to do the pose, right? So this is the pose I want to use right here. Whoops. Well, that wasn't what I wanted. There we go. Okay, so that's my idle pose. And we are going to start a flashlight scare tonight. So I've got a little jump animation that I recorded doing where she kind of like throws up her hands and curls herself into a ball. That's what I'm going to be working on tonight. Alright. Let's see, where am I going with this? Okay, so I'm going to go out about, I'm going to do my key poses tonight. I managed to keep most of my steps in line, thank God. I usually can't do that when I shoot reference. I'm usually all over the place. Yeah, it's super awesome. Could be really fun to see this all. I love seeing this. All these horror games brings me back to when I did Dead Space back in the day. Okay, so let's see where we. Gotta find my thigh toe. Set my key. Drop my bones. Actually, I don't know why my bones are that color.
Hey, my name is Jonelle, and a little thing that I love about
Reset
Chick-fil-A's
color,
new
there we go.
lemon kale Caesar salad is every tender, warm,
Should be
juicy
that
piece
color
of
for
grilled
me.
chicken
Okay,
is
cool.
just
Alright.
perfection. Order the new lemon kale Caesar
So,
salad on the Chick-fil-A app today.
I
Available for a
got
limited time. Real
set
guests pay
some.
for the testimonial.
I'm using a keyframe MP Pro, which is a really cool tool I use in all my projects. Allows you to kind of toggle back and forth between things. So, glad people in here know what this game, the game's legacy and future are gonna be like. That's good. It's nice to have people with that knowledge in here. Let's see, we're going to go up on our toes. Actually went all the way up on my toes, amazingly, and I didn't fall and hit my face around. Nothing short of a miracle. Move my weight back. I should show you guys the reference I did, actually. See if I can get this up here. Display capture. Game capture. Media source. Window capture, that's what it is. I'll call this ref viewer. Let me get this up for you. Let's see here. Should be over here. Keyframe Pro. Okay. There I am. Put this little guy over here for for you, so you can see what I'm doing. So here's the deal. I set these two keyframes right here. So here's the animation I captured. Fun little thing. So I'm actually going to try making these poses. Probably. Here's my anticipation, which is kind of nice. I'll probably bookmark that guy too. And then probably go to that guy. And finally to the end. So we have pose, arms up, both down. We do that one instead of that one. Then where that one comes in. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm gonna work on this pose right here on 11, and then I'll go back and work on the pose number 4. Which means with this guy, I wanna f him up, push him down a bit. Man, I was really up on my toes. Crikey. I don't know if my heel lift will actually do this. I guess it kinda will. Ooh, that's just really too far. The other one's good. This one picks up really tall. So I'll try and keep the feet down here. Maybe not having this guy go as far up as that. I'm gonna turn my torso quite a bit. Yep, the jump scare. Well, no, not the jump scare, sorry. It's the flashlight scare. So, like, when you shine the flashlight on her, she's gonna do this. Unless I get other direction. I have to change it. Never know. Alright, I'm gonna hush up for a minute and just do some stuff.
year, we'll be making the most of the summer season by updating our outdoor patio set and our living room sectional with new styles from Ashley Home Store. By day, we'll be lounging outside in style, and at night, we'll enjoy
probably even gonna have to take his hips, come to think of it, and roll it back like that. So he's so close to kind of falling over. I want to do this because I'm trying to get this elbow back like I have it here. But as you notice, like I'm starting to kind of really tweak the rig, which isn't good. So I'm going to kind of back off on that a bit. Using my isolation. I usually don't like to do this. Like I've got some pretty crazy values and that twist I'm not too happy with, but we'll figure that out here. We do something like this and then maybe pull it forward a bit. Might be able to kind of split the difference here. But the thing I don't want to do is get the same pose, which I feel is kind of where I'm going with this right now. She's got such a big head. Might have to play with my limited range of motion here. I think I'm just gonna have to go with I have to go with this. I have to like cheat this pose here. Oog. Really want to get that arm up. Similar. I really threw my arm back. Jesus. There we go. My word. Really just cranked that sucker back, didn't I? I can pull up like this. Okay. I think this was more like, it's hard to tell from the motion blur. Throw the arm out like this. I actually gotta open up these fingers too. Nope, open up the fingers. Spread them a bit too. Throw the thumb out. Yeah, looks better. A little bit more of like a scared pose look a lot better too when we get all the facial animation on. Cool thing about the software is you're not really supposed to have to like go around and click, but Spinner, sorry about that. Spinner actually does a really good job of allowing you to kind of like have to get used to it, because other software like Ocean Builder, Maya, you don't get this cool thing. This is like one of the things that makes some of this stuff really simple. Back. Let's see how that looks. That's looking a little bit better. I have my tablet here too. Let's switch to that. Good. An O'Reilly Auto Parts ad. Gotta love those.
Best products to get the job done right. Like 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil on sale now, just $28.95.
You can tell I do like a ton of streaming, and I'm totally a pro at it because I just take SoundCloud and I just go with it.
So you want a fresh new way to decorate? Try some new furniture, maybe new bedding, or mix and match throws with wall art and accents to match, and everything else to tie your look together. Just search to style. Get it all delivered free. Plus, get up to 30% off select furniture, decor, and kitchenware on HomeDepot.com.
Cool.
The Home Depot. How doers get more
Drag
done.
this foot down a little
Valid on
bit
select
after
items online
all.
only. Free delivery on select items, $45 or more. Visit HomeDepot.com for more information.
Okay, 16. It's only like a 30 frame animation, so I'm gonna pull this all the way in here too. This thing's gonna be super duper quick. Oh man, how am I gonna do this? Do I get my head back somehow? Let's try this. Try and set my head with the limits again first. Maybe that'll make things a bit easier. Jumped back. By that time I'm lifting my foot up because this is planted back down. Oh dear. No. It's gonna, oops. Have to be flat. How's it going, man? I do not like how my foot, maybe that could work. Not that. say push that guy over. I believe David Gibson said it best. He's like, watching an animator animate is about as fun as watching paint dry. Because you have all these like crazy time lapses where all this stuff is super duper cool, super duper fast. And when you really get into it, it's like, no. It's pretty pretty sad sometimes. But for me, as an animator, I love seeing it. I love watching people animate. It gives me a idea of like workflow techniques. You never stop learning, right? Oh man, how am I gonna bring that guy around? So one of the things you have to remember when animating is, yeah, you shoot all this reference, right? It's fun, it's cool, it gives you an idea of what to do. The problem is, when it really boils down to it, you're still at the mercy of like, what the rig can give you, right? So, in this instance, you'll see I've only got one spine joint to work with, right? So my shapes I can pull off, have to be reflected on kind of what I can do, right? So it means like, kind of moving stuff around and trying new things. Also, you'll notice here, I was super awesome and freaking hit my head, but it's really gonna be a hard sell with this, because the arms are so tiny compared to the head. It's awesome. So, to cheat it a bit, maybe. Let's look more or less like a Vogue pose there. Let's see here. To get that arm back, I can kind of give the illusion of a hand being up and over, right? feels like it needs to be more extreme out like that. Maybe like that. So we have some semblance of an arc coming through here. Right now we don't have any of that. Feed her up. What's my next pose gonna be? Step's gonna be behind. I'm really gonna want to pull this foot out quite a bit. Kind of want to do a little dance thing like that, so I can really kind of get this weight over probably a bit more, which means yeah, I wonder if I can bring this down a bit more. Might work like that. God, I kind of want this to be bigger, but maybe I could swing.
Mom,
Get my
that's
pen out
Sunny
here.
D. What? Sunny D. I love that stuff.
Theoretically,
Oh, that's sweet, honey. I love you too.
No, no.
I could
the
probably
taste. I
swing
love
it
the
out
taste.
that way, maybe.
It's got 100% vitamin C.
What?
Vitamin C.
Let's see
what?
here.
Never mind. Sunny D, boldly original.
Ouch, up. But if I do up and out, it's kind of coming down. So theoretically, that would kind of make sense. Her leg is really twisted. Ah, my eyes. Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I'm thinking like maybe have an in-between, push this out where she kind of, yeah, what's up, Glitch Lizard? Are you just animating for fun, or do you have a project that you do? Ah, cool. Nice 2D fighting game. So one thing I never got to do is animate for a fighting game. I mean, aside from all of the random Call of Duties and stuff I did. And then I'll come back here and figure out something over here. But I have a feeling like there's going to be more of a, instead of going straight into this, we'll probably do something maybe where, you know, just like here, staring, kind of crunch down a bit more, right? Maybe her arms drop a bit, and maybe kind of this arm comes up, kind of up there, to kind of shield her eyes, instead of going straight up into the jump. So from here, probably I'm thinking head would probably be here. Maybe a little bit raised up, so eyes are here. Maybe even have the arm kind of come out here. Body would probably stay much of the same, but maybe the arm could raise up a bit, like that, so that maybe something like that. I've been considering having two models of the sword I use for separate bow. Hang on. Okay, so a ton of different ways you can handle this. So, first of all, what the hiding and unhiding is a thing that you can do. It depends. It's not really down to like animation. The thing about fighting games are like, is he not using it when he's like, you know, it's a 2D fighting game, so like, is he not using it when he's like in idle? And then like when he goes to like kind of do an attack, he like reaches back and pulls it out? Or do you have a physical like actual unsheath and sheathing animation that you want to do? Because, you know, there's two ways you can go about this. The most alternates between okay, crazy, okay, cool. The way I typically handle that, especially for a fighting game, is on the rig, to make things easier, like I'll go with, maybe you're doing it in Unity, maybe you're doing it in Unreal, kind of the same way to handle either way of the either one of those, right? The rig would basically have two copies of the sword, one that rests on the back, one in the weapon hand, right? And then the way I would do it is I usually have the motion, like have the motion of him like pantomiming going back during the anticipation, right? Because then it means that that action is so quick that by the time you turn on the sword, you kind of don't have to deal with like, you know, having it slide through a sheath or anything like that. If you're talking about programs, like animation programs, and how to constrain it or how to deal with the rig on. There's several different ways to do that. If you're using a Kitsu, first of all, yeah, really. If you're using a Kitsu, you can do that one of two ways. You can use the same bone, but the problem with the same bone is, so like say you had a weapon bone like here in his hand, right? And then you sword that weapon bone on the back. Okay, so now the sword's on the back here, right? I'm just using this as an example. The problem is going to be that when this hand moves and rotates and does whatever crazy thing it's going to do, it's attached on the back by a keyframe. Compression is going to kill this guy. It's absolutely going to murder you. And what you're going to have is your sword is going to like completely like jump all over the place. And it's because in my motion builder, Max, whatever you're animating in, you can do this constraint and bake it out, and it'll look fine, right, on 30 frames, 60 frames, whatever your frame rate is. But the problem is going to be that because it rests right here, Blender, okay, yeah, the same thing in Blender. I say like, it's the same concept anywhere you go. If you use this child joint, like I should have specified this would be a child joint of like the wrist, right? If you place that back here, that bone now still has a parent relationship to this wrist, but it sits on his back. And then what's going to happen is whenever he plays an animation where it's not in his hand, but his hand is like whipping up and down or doing like super quick motions, that sword will definitely jump and hop around, and there's no way around that. Okay, so what I do is I keep if you're using a attach track, say like you're in Unity, and you're using a attach track to attach the model from one bone to another, I make a weapon joint for each hand. And then I typically make a stow weapon joint, right, that exists on the back. So you're going to have 3 weapon joints, or right, yeah, whichever one you want. At least you have 2. And then what you're going to do is, you're going to pantomime the sword going back or coming out by reaching his hand back or doing whatever you want to do. And then at a frame, you're going to switch the model from one joint to the other. And you can totally do that, right, in any game engine you want. If you're unsure of like your technical like abilities of being able to do that, then my secondary would be to have 2 models. One sits on the back, one sits on here, right, in his hand, and then you essentially just turn them on or off at a frame, usually with an event flag of some sort. Like in Unity, it's a if you're doing a timeline animation, it's a visibility track. In code, obviously there's a couple of things, but in Unity what you do is you would create an event notify that would say, okay, on this frame for this animation, swap these things, turn this one off and turn this one on. And that's probably the easiest, least technical way to do it, but both produce the same result, whether you're physically moving a joint, physically moving a model from one joint to another. But you definitely have to have 2 of these guys. I've seen so many games and rigs that they're just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna take it and stick it to the back. And the other thing they try and do to like kind of clear out that is they'll literally try to they're like, okay, well, compression's gonna kill it on the back because the hand's moving around so much, right? So they're like, so why don't we just take the joint and just throw it to the root? So they'll have like a root joint weapon joint, right? Because they're like, okay, now the joint can like fall on the floor, it can be tossed up in the air, all that kind of stuff without worrying about Yeah, you could scale them. Yeah, that's something definitely you can do. Like, I've seen that before. If you do like a one frame scale, that's perfectly fine to do too. Um, you know, especially if you do like a, you don't have compensate scale on. None of the game engines do anyway. So, but yeah, don't fall into the trap of like, rule of thumb is basically create as many joints as you want the weapon to hit. If you want it to bounce on the floor or be disarmed, you need to create a root joint. Then you also need to create a weapon joint for the hand, and then you create a stow point joint, and you go between all those three. And I would say just like the easiest way is just hide them. Like you said, go back, hide it, boop, unhide this one, or unscale this one. And that's how I would do it personally. Hopefully that answers your question. It's just, rigging wise, not real hard to do, because, you're just creating your model placements and then just like going back and forth between them. And that's perfectly valid. I can't really see any negatives to that except for like, if you have some sort of collision thing that you're like worried about, maybe like if collisions doesn't get scaled along with your model or something, because it's not bound or parented. But I mean, I personally would do it that way. By the way, I love Blender. Please use Blender more. It's a great program. Something about free 3D software is just... Yeah, no problem. I mean, I love to help people out. It's one of those things where there's 1,000,001 different ways to do things. And there's also like a fair amount of ways to work yourself into a hole that you won't even be able to get out of. And sadly, like in the game world, like as professional as it could seem, it happens more than you would care to admit, basically. There's people who think they have like all the answers, and it's like, no, they really don't. And it just ends up screwing you sometimes. At least for me it does, because I'm the tech guy and I get all the fixes that I have to do. This one flat. Oops. Oh sweet, you've been using Blender longer than I have. I only started just prior to the release of 2.8. Of course, like, everyone has used Blender in the beginning, right? Like, when I was in school studying, I was like, cool, free 3D program. Download the thing. Couldn't figure out how to select an object because of that damn right-click select. In hindsight, honestly, like, it is a cool way to work. But man, it really turned a lot of people off from it. It sucked because that was like the one thing, like if they had not done that, there would have probably been a bigger push for Blender, because it was so powerful. Like, even, God, I would say like 2.6, 2.3, it would have given Maya a run for its money, quite honestly. Like, they had features in there that sometimes Maya didn't even, like, their NLA editor came out, I want to say it was almost before Maya even had idea of having animation layers, because I didn't use, let's see, I was on James Bond from Russia with Love. This is one of my first jobs I ever had. I was working at EA. And From Russia with Love was my first motion capture game. And it was so horrible. We were using motion capture in Maya with no animation layers because, everyone knew Maya and that was that. Motion Builder was just kind of on the scene, but I didn't even hear about Motion Builder at that point, like, in my career. And so basically it's like I was animating all these shots by literally deleting keyframes from motion capture to rebuild the curve to make adjustments. It was the stupidest thing you could ever do with motion capture, because you pay for performance, especially with something like From Russia with Love. Like, we had Sean Connery doing voiceovers. We had all these professional actors doing stunts for us, and we're just like blowing away all these keyframes because we can't tweak them. Totally sucked. And I'm like looking back in the archives for Blender because I love, I have a nostalgic feature for old cheap software, just old software in general, like with Power Animator and all that stuff, all the stuff I never got to use. But I'm looking back and I'm like, I think Blender actually had an NLA editor with additive layers around that time. If not, it was either around that time or a little ahead of it. But yeah, I love that software. I love the way, the flow of it too. And just so you know, if you stick with the stream, I'm gonna do more of these characters, and probably the next character I'll be doing in Blender, I think. This one's really cool too. I love it. It's paid, obviously, but it's really easy and simple to use for people who haven't hit the Blender train, and who don't. The rigging is super simple in this, which is why I absolutely love it. But and it's a hybridized IKFK rig that's really super duper simple to use. But it's got its limitations. It's very keyframe oriented. You can't do anything like Blender. You can actually do some mocap stuff with it, but very keyframe oriented, which is fine. It works well for what it does. Made by a bunch of French people. They're pretty responsive to the community. They do have some unique ways of working. So, quaternion curves are one of the things that kind of make people frustrated when they first start working with the software, because they're like, quaternions. If you're a Blender user, you're totally used to quaternions because it's always on. You can switch back and forth to Euler, but quaternions are kind of prevalent in everything now. And now that they're there's better ways to manipulate them. They have their pluses. Old school keyframers will hate you if you mention them, unfortunately. Just because they're unpredictable sometimes, I guess. Wow, what song is this? I've just gone completely off of where I started. This set's called Glittering Water 2. Interesting. I like 80s synth pop, and this guy drew me in with that, and then he's got all these other things that are pretty cool. Let's see here. Oh boy. I feel like I'm animating myself into a hole right now. Gotta curl him up somehow. Look away. What am I going to do? I am not gonna get that shape. There's no way. Maybe. Oh boy. Maybe instead of reaching around to grab the head, I'll just kind of have him grab his beak or the side of his head. Nice. Well, if you have a stream or you have some stuff that you're sharing anytime, let me know. I'd love to watch. I gotta get those shoulders up. Ooh, I don't know about that. Man, oh man. It's really high already. Yeah, cool. I don't play much games, even though I'm in the industry. I'm usually like doing this stuff just because my day job, I don't get to and this guy. We've got so far a jump and then down to covering his eyes. And oh yeah. Totally. If you've ever worked in games and you've ever been through crunch, you'll know that there is rarely a case where a game comes together smoothly. I mean, like, I'm trying to think back in my career. I think like when I was at EA, we crunched all the time. Like, you know, it was the beginning of my career, so I'm like just jazzed to be an animator, right? And I think like in the beginning we did so much crunch, and I totally didn't even realize what kind of a problem it was. And I of course I was like really like young in my yeah, it is totally and I was like, I was so fresh like to the industry that I don't even think I realized half of the frickin' issues that were going on with some of the games. You know, like, I'm sure some of the senior people were just like beside themselves thinking that we were never gonna ship, or that there's no way we're gonna deliver a title. The only game that I could truly say I never probably worked too hard on. I mean, I did. I worked my ass off, but it wasn't like
what's that? The sound of your dream home getting snatched up by someone else.
Horrible slog through the trenches of like, you know, making you not want to go to work the next morning.
Like cheetah driving a sports car fast.
Probably was Dead Space.
So you can be the first to.
Like, I remember Dead Space being like just always moving forward, and that was cool. I liked that a lot. But you know, it was definitely like, you get into Call of Duty, and oh my god, like, those days were just some of the worst. Because, man, oh man, like, you work long hours, you get so burnt out, people get like repetitive stress injuries, and that's not even like the emotional like toll it takes, like having your work just like not be your work anymore. You're just noodling something until it's basically like in a hole of just nastiness, right? You've done mocap and it's not even like the mocap anymore. There's so many things like that where it's just like, I couldn't. It just kind of takes the fun, right? It takes all the fun out of like, out of doing any of this stuff. So in the end, you like leave the industry, or you don't. You'd think so, right? Like, the dirty little secret with Call of Duty is they use all of the same like stuff year after year, right? They use all the same animations, but the way they do it, they like toss so much stuff out the window when they design these levels. So there's all of these like custom things that they have you do, and then they just throw it away. It is so freaky. Like, it's just so sad. But yeah, that's why like COD comes out, and half the time like it kind of looks a bit like the previous game, or it looks a little sad because, you know, these poor guys have been working so hard, and I mean, they're pulling off minor miracles, just shipping the stinking game, right? And but then people come out and they're like, oh, the animation looks like garbage, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, sorry about that, because it looked good, like, you know, 3 months before ship, but then 8 different directors had their hand in the honeypot of like how this whole stupid thing should go, and then all of a sudden you're making noodling changes that were never intended to be made, and you're keyframing stuff that you should have never ever been keyframing, because you had all this like treasure trove of like great performance data to pull from. And it's just, that's how that works. It sucks. It really does. I have some friends who are still there, and they're just like, you know, it's still the same thing. Treyarch is a little bit different because somehow they managed to like, they still kill their staff, right? People still get burnt out, but they somehow managed to like appreciate them more, and so it keeps higher level people there for longer, I think. Yeah, stay indie, man. If you can last in indie, stay in there because it is way more fun, way more fulfilling, you know. You don't get the big paychecks like you get with Call of Duty, but oh my gosh. Like I work for Ubisoft right now and they're big. Oh yeah, sorry. I'll turn up my mic here. Everyone's asleep at my house, so I'm kind of a little bit quiet. But I work for Ubisoft, so they're a great company to work for. But you know, they're big. We have our fair share of development issues and budgets, so happens everywhere. But there's a safety net working for bigger companies like that, especially if you have like a family and everything, right? It's you still get to work, you still get to do what you enjoy, but yeah, you don't have quite as much freedom as you would in indie. Maybe you're not working on like the super exciting creative titles, right? Because it's more mainstream. But in the end, you have a paycheck and health benefits and all that stuff that you get to do. Okay. This last frame is pretty simple. I'm gonna do it at 30. Actually gonna crunch him over a bit more too. Oopsies. Only 19. Man. Only 19 and in indie. That's pretty cool. I think about all the times that I was like, oh, I just wanted to animate when I was 19. That's all I wanted to do. In fact, I wasn't just getting out of college. Yeah, I was definitely into animation. That is the way to go, man. Just enjoy it, because if you don't, you know, if you try and chase like something that isn't gonna be as fulfilling, 9 times out of 10 it's just not gonna be fun. You're not gonna like it at all. Then you're gonna get burnt out and be one of those jaded old misers. Ah, crap. Where did I go wrong? Kinda wanna turn this guy a little bit more. Just gotta rotate on his heel more. Oops. Yeah, jump scare next, I guess. Let's see here. If I go back to my list. Yep. Walk, light reaction. Oh wait. Greeter, slide out from doorway, left and right. Light reaction and jump scare. Yeah, so I am doing this by the seat of my pants right now. If you guys have any creative like suggestions or whatever, please, just send them my way. Like if you're like, oh hey, here's like something that looked really good, or here's like stuff from one of the previous games that worked well. These jump scares were really cool, right? That's something I could work with, and then like kind of tweak and make a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, I just got like general descriptions of what we're doing with these guys. So, like I said, it's just kind of. I mean, they'll probably change once, say they get into the game. We'll make some modifications to them so that they work a little bit better. Definitely distances will have to be tweaked, I think. Yeah. I have to like just come up with something creative. Super like, yeah, quick and holding poses. I remember that a lot of camera shake, right? Okay. Yeah, so I think I feel like I have some room in here to do something right around here. And I think I definitely will. I'm gonna lay in a key there. I think we're gonna stop for tonight, but I'm gonna do something where I like drop the pose. Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, so maybe like maybe I'll have his head like turn kind of like that. Have him bring up his hand kind of like this. So he kind of like does a little bit of a reaction. His hand up. Clap up.
y'all now, and a little
That would be
thing to know
cool.
about Chick-fil-A's new lemon kale Caesar salad is every tender, warm, juicy piece of grilled chicken is just perfection.
Order the new lemon kale Caesar salad on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for the testimonial.
Eating your face. Yeah, so these are just blocking poses, obviously. I'll go ahead and tune these, but... And then obviously the eyes and everything are going to be something that we'll have to do. Oops. Jesus. What am I doing? Okay. Redo. Just that one thing. Okay. Let's see here. Or like the light is in my eyes. And then jump. Then hide from the light. We see this here. Oh yeah. I'm thinking like, so do we have to start the jump scare? Does it have to start from a specific pose, or can we? Because my thought is to like have her like curled up in a super small ball and then like just bust out. If you ever saw the Evolve trailer, so freaking cool. I think it was a launch trailer.
Peggy 16.
Oops, sorry. Where was it? They have... didn't have anything. Let's see, where is it? I'll show you the, actually here it is, David Gibson. Animation. Here's the evolved behemoth animation process. Check this out, guys. Transition. We need something to go from her, not there, to in your face. Yeah. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get this guy up. There it is. Okay. Add input source. Capture. Let's do. Where is it? Chrome. Here it is. Ah, crap. I don't know if it'll show you. Damn it. Stupid OBS. See. We'll do this then. Let's do this up here. Here we go. Okay, cool. Sorry. I'm just gonna do this. Oops. So this is super duper cool. So this was the behemoth animation process, right? Like if you see this guy, this kind of came out, right? Interestingly enough though, you didn't see a lot of it, but he started this guy out in like a super duper 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 tight ball. And like this is his whole animation process. And he's like, he like kind of has him unravel. So I was thinking of something more like that, right? Where you're like, it's kind of what my thought was. So if we have her kind of like rolled up. Yeah, if you like this guy, his time lapse are just awesome. David Gibson, he used to work at Blizzard on Overwatch. He did a bunch of talks on stuff, and they were absolutely phenomenal. And he's got these like cool animation, like time lapse things that he shows about and how he did all this stuff. He did a May 2 on Blizzard or on Overwatch. I think he's at Riot right now, working on Valorant or whatever their new first-person game is. It's pretty cool. Anyway, that's something to keep in mind, I guess, maybe. Okay. Anyway, so with this guy, yeah, I think I'm kind of liking that more. I kind of wanna maybe kind of move back, kind of like that. Open the knees out maybe and lift the leg a little bit. Some side movement, I think. Next pose goes off this foot, so she's gonna have to lead in on that side, I think. Kind of bend things over. Feel like I wanna kind of really drive her down to like super low. Which means she's gotta crunch forward like that. Yeah, so she can get some lift off. EA. Actually, I would call it Activision. But EA is like, dude, EA would do that every quarter. Konami. I had a friend who worked for, before he actually came to work for us on Call of Duty, he was at Konami doing the multiplayer for Metal Gear Solid. And he just was talking about the whole dynamic over there. It's just crazy. Alright guys, it's almost 10 o'clock over here and I gotta wake up early for work tomorrow. So, I'm gonna leave this here, get back to it. Shoot. try tomorrow, but I've got a ton of other stuff I have to do, but K and ends with a B. What studio starts with a K and ends with a B? I was thinking kebab, but that can't be right. Kindly beast. Kindly beast. The Meaty Games, formerly known as the Meaty Games. Oh, in Ontario, Canada. Grisham Bendy, the Meaty Mike Mood. Wow. Yeah, no problem, man. Glad to have people here contributing. It makes this process a whole lot easier. I'm gonna look into some of those jump scares too. Figure out what we can do that's super unique. But yeah, always come back for more tips. I'm always here to help. I love helping people out, especially if it makes their games a little bit easier and better. Alright guys, I will see you later. Send out an email, my Twitter usually. I'll start doing that where I'll blast out to Twitter about 20 minutes beforehand and then load up and head going. But you can always also just run through them later too. But cool. Have a good one, guys.